Hello, this is my human factors report, and today we'll be discussing how exercise or lack of poses a problem for astronauts traveling and living on Mars. This is important because in the near future, NASA may or is planning on launching an exploration of Mars. The lack of exercise on Mars poses a large problem because due to the microgravity, both on Mars and on the travel to Mars or the trip to Mars, astronauts can experience loss of bone density and loss of muscle mass. This is important because when they get back to Earth, they won't be able to function as normal people do. The method that I researched that would probably have the most success would be to install a centrifuge on the spacecraft used to travel to Mars. This would be advantageous because the centrifuge can replicate the gravity, because Earth has a constant gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared, and Mars does not. And during the travel, there's no gravity. So if you put there's very little gravity. So if you put a centrifuge in, you can train in the centrifuge, like run on the treadmill in the centrifuge, or lift weights in the centrifuge, and it will replicate the amount of gravity that is usually used on Earth. See, because when you lift weights, weight is really, when you lift weight, you move mass against gravity. So you're just moving mass. So when you move mass in space, there's no gravity, so it's very easy to move mass. And that doesn't contribute to any more, you're just moving mass around, there's no weight to it. So it's not contributing to any more muscle gains, or it's not holding your bone density. But if you have a centrifuge and you can train inside the inside the gravity in the centrifuge for an hour or two a day, like lifting weights, doing the standard like bench press, squats, various curls, dumbbell curls, pull-ups, push-ups. You could do the various calisthenics that are usually done on Earth to keep fit, and the centrifuge would allow you to train in a gravitized situation, so you would not lose the bone density and the muscle mass. The next best option after the centrifuge to combat the bone density loss and the muscle mass loss would be to keep a very strict exercise regimen with elastic bands. Elastic bands, you would just train against the bands, so there's no gravity needed, so you could train on board going to Mars and on Mars. So if you train with the elastic bands, you could hit like push-ups, pull-ups. You could hit all your major things using the bands as resistance, so you wouldn't lose your muscle mass and everything. So that's the next best option past the centrifuge. Because the centrifuge replicates the gravity, I think it's a much better option. But the elastic bands would be more feasible. Say if we sent a man to Mars tomorrow, we could easily give him an elastic band routine for say 2 hours a day. In order to do that, you would need people on Earth coordinating with the astronauts to make sure they stuck on the very strict exercise regimen, because one day miss could mean major deficits in bone density loss and muscle mass loss. But beyond that, you give them a very strict exercise regimen, and they're all young men and women, so they would be able to hold it up very well. And if the centrifuge isn't a viable option by the time we send them to Mars, if we could send them with an elastic bands routine, and I'm very confident that those young men and women would be able to return to Earth with minimal deficits. Thank you for watching this video.